Did you know that more than 70% of drivers unintentionally cause their automatic car to break down sooner? Do you belong to that group? These behaviors may be more harmful than you think. We're exploring the 12 things you should never do in an automated automobile in today's video. And stay tuned until the very end because I'm going to give you a bonus tip that may help your car live longer than you ever imagined and save you thousands of dollars in maintenance. Let's begin. First and foremost, avoid using low gas. One of the worst things you can do to an automatic automobile is to drive with low petrol, which may seem like a harmless habit. An electronic fuel pump housed inside the gas tank is a feature of modern automobiles. Fuel must be drawn from the tank and sent to the engine via this pump. However, for cooling and lubrication, it depends on the fuel itself. The pump is not completely immersed when you operate on low gas, especially below a quarter tank, which leads to overheating and premature wear and tear. Pump failure brought on by this overheating may be expensive, requiring repairs that might potentially total hundreds of dollars. Additionally, with time, dirt and debris are naturally collected in gas tanks. This material deposits at the bottom of the tank, forcing the pump to draw as you drive on low fuel. These impurities have the potential to harm injectors, block your fuel filter, and even lower engine performance by resulting in incorrect fuel delivery. These problems have the potential to worsen and harm your engine and fuel system if they are not addressed. Furthermore, completely running out of petrol in an automatic vehicle is not only annoying, but it can seriously damage the internal components of your vehicle. Even after refilling, the fuel pump may have trouble operating effectively due to pressure imbalances caused by air pockets that are put into the gasoline lines when the tank is empty. Misfires, decreased power, and long-term damage to the fuel injection system may result from this. Make it a practice to fill up your tank before it falls below a quarter in order to prevent these expensive repairs and guarantee your car works properly. This will guarantee that you are never stuck because of an empty tank in addition to safeguarding your car's essential parts. 2. Avoid coasting in neutral. Although coasting in neutral may appear to be a fuel-saving trick, it's actually a hazardous notion that might endanger your safety and cause major damage. Even when you're slowing down, modern automatic gearboxes are made to function best while the vehicle is in gear. Switching to neutral when coasting might cause problems for the transmission's hydraulic and lubrication systems, which depend on the engine's power to function properly. The internal parts may prematurely wear out without enough lubrication, necessitating expensive gearbox repairs. Another important justification for not coasting in neutral is safety. You have more control over how your automobile moves when it is in gear. On lengthy descents, however, the engine braking system lets the car slow down naturally without using the brakes excessively, which can save them from overheating. You lose this engine braking when in neutral, which increases the pressure on your brake system and raises the possibility of brake failure in emergency scenarios. Switching from neutral to drive again might create delay if you need to accelerate rapidly to escape a hazard. This delay could mean the difference between avoiding an accident and getting into one. The idea that coasting in neutral saves gasoline is another misconception. In actuality, contemporary vehicles equipped with electronic fuel injection systems are designed to use less gasoline when you depress the accelerator while the vehicle is in gear. You're not saving as much as you may believe since the engine still needs gasoline to idle in neutral. You may be wasting more gasoline if anything. 3. Avoid doing launches. Although it may seem thrilling to do forceful launches such as flooring the gas pedal to accelerate from a full stop, this is one of the quickest ways to cause damage to your vehicle. An automatic gearbox is made for seamless transitions and effective power delivery, in contrast to a manual transmission, which gives you greater direct control over clutch engagement and gear changes. Crucial parts, such as the powertrain, torque converter, and transmission gears are subjected to extreme strain during launch, which, if repeated, can result in costly damage. An automatic car's torque converter must manage an abrupt increase in engine power when you try to launch it. Over time, its efficiency may be decreased by overheating and early wear brought on by this quick energy transfer. Additionally, under these harsh circumstances, the transmission fluid, which is necessary for lubrication and cooling, may deteriorate more quickly, providing internal components with inadequate protection. Long-term transmission failure and sliding gears can also be caused by overheating transmission fluid. Your drivetrain is also impacted by hard launches. The abrupt energy shock that comes with a strong launch is too much for parts like the powertrain, shaft, axles, and differential to withstand. Frequent strain can result in damaged differentials or broken axles, both of which require expensive repairs. However, these abrupt acceleration spurts can damage the life of your tires, increasing the need for more frequent repairs. It's crucial to keep in mind that automatic gearboxes are designed to be dependable and long-lasting, but only if they are handled carefully. Accelerate carefully from a stop rather than stepping on the gas pedal to protect your vehicle and save money on repairs. 4th, never use a vehicle without first warming up the engine. Although it may seem handy to hop in your car and drive away right away, especially during colder months, this behavior can seriously damage your engine over time. The oil in an engine is thicker and hasn't get adequately circulated through all of the parts while it's cold. The pistons, cylinders, and valve train are among the vital engine components that experience increased wear and friction due to this lack of lubrication. This problem is considerably more serious for automatic gearboxes, as the fluid must have time to achieve its ideal operating temperature in order to guarantee smooth shifting and appropriate operation. Your automatic transmission is put under more strain when you drive with a cold engine. For the transmission's hydraulic system to function well, the fluid must have the proper temperature and viscosity. The fluid becomes thicker when it becomes cold, which makes it more difficult for the system to engage gears correctly. Rough shifts, sluggish acceleration, and even long-term harm to the internal parts of the gearbox can result from this. This needless strain over time may accelerate the deterioration of the transmission fluid and shorten the transmission's lifespan. Cold starts can also have an impact on your car's emissions and fuel economy. In order to compensate for reduced combustion efficiency, modern engines employ a richer air-fuel combination when they are cold. Driving away right away makes the engine work harder while it's still inefficient, which wastes fuel and wears down parts more quickly. Furthermore, pushing the engine too hard at this stage can lead to overheating and damage, especially to delicate components like the head gasket. It's crucial to let your engine a few minutes to warm up after starting, particularly in cold weather, to prevent these problems. For most current automobiles, you don't need to leave it idle for very long. Between 30 and 60 seconds is plenty. It may seem innocuous to sit in your car with the gear set to drive and the motor running, especially if you're only waiting for a short while. But doing so can harm your automatic gearbox and perhaps endanger your safety. The engine is running and the transmission stays engaged when the vehicle is in drive. Even when you press down the brake, the engine keeps driving the wheels. Both the braking system and the gearbox are subjected to needless stress as a result. In drive mode, the transmission's purpose is to move the vehicle forward, not to keep it still for long. The transmission fluid may overheat if it is kept engaged while idling, especially if this behavior occurs frequently. Overheated transmission fluid can cause premature wear on your transmission's internal components because it loses its capacity to cool and lubricate efficiently. This may eventually result in expensive repairs or possibly transmission failure. When you leave your automobile in drive while it is not moving, your braking system also suffers. Over time, braking effectiveness may be decreased due to increased brake pad wear and extra heat produced by the continual pressure applied to the brakes to stop the automobile from moving. This is particularly problematic when waiting at lengthy lights or in stop-and-go traffic. Another important issue is safety. The automobile may suddenly lunge forward, endangering you, other cars, or pedestrians if your foot off the brake even for a few seconds. In places where there is a lot of foot activity or near proximity to vehicles, this danger is increased. Always put your car in park or neutral and use the parking brake if you plan to stay still for longer than a few seconds to avoid these problems. 6. Don't rest your hand on the gear stick. In an automatic transmission, the gear stick's internal mechanism is linked to the shift linkage, which engages certain gears within the gearbox, even if its primary function is to choose driving modes. Even little pressure applied continuously might put undue strain on these fragile parts, causing misalignments or early deterioration. One of the biggest dangers is breaking the control systems of the transmission or the shift linkage. The gear stick and its attached components are not made to support weight or withstand continuous pressure, despite their seemingly robust appearance. This might eventually result in slack or looseness in the shift linkage, which can make it difficult to shift gears or cause the transmission to engage improperly. In the worst situations, it can necessitate expensive internal transmission component repairs. Additionally, putting your hand on the gear shift promotes bad driving posture, which slows down your response time in an emergency. Ideally, both hands should be on the steering wheel for the best control and fastest movement. You're jeopardizing your ability to react quickly to possible road dangers by keeping your hand on the gear shift. Develop the practice of just touching the gear stick while switching gears or settings to prevent these problems. Keep your hand on the steering wheel or in your lap after shifting into drive rather than resting on the gear stick. Automatic gearboxes are designed to engage particular gears based on your decision when you switch between modes. When changing modes while driving causes an abrupt discrepancy between the internal gear engagement and the car's speed. A startling mechanical shock that overstresses the transmission system may ensue from this. The clutch packs or bands in the gearbox, which engage and disengage gears, are among its most susceptible parts in this scenario. These components are put under tremendous strain when you switch between modes while the vehicle is driving, which accelerates wear and in certain situations causes total failure. But in these sudden circumstances, the transmission fluid, which is necessary for seamless gear shifts and adequate cooling, is unable to flow properly. Long-term harm to internal components, decreased lubrication, and overheating can result from this. The possible harm to the parking pal, a tiny but essential part that locks the gearbox when in park, is another important consideration. Your automobile may not be able to maintain its position when parked if you try to shift into park while it is still moving because the parking buddy may break or become misaligned. Such problems can be costly and inconvenient to fix. Abrupt mode switches can also impair vehicle control from a safety standpoint. For example, putting the car in reverse while moving ahead may cause the wheels to briefly lock, which might result in skidding or a loss of control. This puts other drivers on the road at danger in addition to you. When an automatic automobile is in park mode, a little metal part known as the parking pal is activated, locking the gearbox and stopping the wheels from spinning. Instead of stopping a moving vehicle, this system is meant to hold a stopped car in place. The parking pal must engage against the spinning parts of the transmission if you try to shift into park while the car is still moving, which can cause serious tension and even damage. Your car may roll unexpectedly, even when parked, if the parking buddy breaks or becomes damaged since it can no longer lock the gearbox correctly. This component requires a lot of effort and money to repair or replace. Even worse, this motion may harm the gear teeth or the shift linkage among other components of the transmission, increasing the expense of repairs. When you shift into park while driving, your wheels may lock abruptly, which might result in a skid or loss of control. This raises the possibility of an accident, particularly on slick roads or in places with lots of traffic. It may seem like a little mistake to not use the emergency brake, particularly if your car is parked on a level surface. However, ignoring this important function might jeopardize the safety of your car and cause long-term harm to your automatic gearbox. The purpose of the emergency brake is to relieve stress, not only in an emergency. When the automobile is parked, the strain is removed from your transmission. A little metal part engages to lock the transmission and stop the wheels from moving when you put your automobile in park. Your car's whole weight rests on this small piece of metal if you don't apply the emergency brake. Particularly if your automobile is parked on an incline, this continuous pressure over time may cause the parking pole to deteriorate or break. Your automobile might roll abruptly due to a broken pole, which could be dangerous. Additionally, using the park gear exclusively causes your transmission's components to deteriorate more quickly. Because the emergency brake helps hold the automobile in place mechanically, rather than depending solely on the transmission system, it greatly lessens the load on the transmission. The emergency brake adds an extra degree of security from a safety standpoint. The emergency brake makes ensuring the automobile stays firmly in place in the event that the parking pole breaks or the car is jostled when parked. This is particularly crucial on uneven or steep terrain. 10. Putting the vehicle in traffic in neutral. It may seem like a good idea to put your car in neutral when you're stuck in traffic, but this is a risky habit that can put your safety at risk and cause mechanical problems. In contrast to drive, which keeps the gearbox engaged and prepared to go, neutral cuts off the engine's power to the wheels. This may seem like it's helping your automobile, but in a number of ways, it really hurts it more than it helps. Lack of control is one of the main dangers of leaving your automobile in neutral. If you need to get out of the way of a hazard, such as a car unexpectedly veering toward you, you can accelerate swiftly while your automobile is in neutral. Accidents may become more likely as a result of this response time delay, particularly in emergency situations or with heavy traffic. However, your brakes are subjected to needless strain when you leave your automobile in neutral. Engine braking, which helps keep the vehicle still when in drive, is a tiny amount of resistance provided by the engine. Since there is no resistance in neutral, your brakes must work harder to prevent the car from rolling, especially up hills. Reduced braking effectiveness and early brake pad degradation may result from this increased strain over time. From a mechanical standpoint, the shift linkage and transmission components may become worn down if you regularly change to neutral and back to drive in stop-and-go traffic. Continuous gear changes can disturb the fluid flow in an automatic gearbox, which can cause overheating or premature wear. Automatic transmissions are made to run smoothly when in drive. When stopped in traffic, it's better to keep your car in drive and just hold the brake for maximum safety and protection. 11. Water entering transmission. One of the most dangerous mistakes you can do is letting water into your car's transmission, which may cause catastrophic failures. As a sealed system, the transmission depends on transmission fluid for cooling, lubrication, and effective functioning. The fluid's integrity is compromised by water incursion, resulting in a combination that is unable to adequately cool or lubricate the internal parts. Gears, clutches, and other important components may sustain significant damage as a result. Driving in deep water or during floods are two of the most frequent ways that water gets into the transmission. The transmission system of modern automobiles has vents or seals that, in normal circumstances, allow for thermal expansion while keeping debris out. These vents, however, may permit water to enter the system when the vehicle is submerged, particularly if it is left in standing water for a long time. Contamination of the transmission fluid is the direct result of water in the transmission. Overheating results from the fluid losing its viscosity and cooling qualities due to water, and more internal friction in the gearbox. This can eventually lead to broken valve bodies, burned clutches, and totally destroyed transmission repairs, which can run into the thousands. Corrosion is another problem. Metal makes up a transmission's interior parts, including the gears and bearings. Water weakens the system and reduces its lifespan by combining with the transmission fluid and creating a corrosive environment that speeds up corrosion and degeneration. Never drive through water deep enough to immerse the engine bay or gearbox to prevent these expensive issues. Get the car checked out right away by a trained mechanic if you think water has gotten into the transmission. Number 12. Driving while performing two accomplishments. Automatic gearboxes, as opposed to manual ones, are made to be operated with a single foot that controls the brake and gas pedals. When it comes to the mechanics, using 2 feet puts you at danger. The possibility of inadvertently braking while accelerating is one of the main risks associated with utilizing 2 feet. The car's systems can become confused by even a small amount of pressure on the brake pedal, while your other foot is pressing the accelerator, especially in newer models with sophisticated sensors. Unpredictable gear changes, brake overheating, and even needless transmission wear due to the gearbox's inability to decipher contradicting signals might result from this. The brake pedal may overheat when being used, which might result in decreased braking effectiveness and even brake failure under emergency situations. The possibility of delayed reaction times is another problem. When rapid reactions are required in emergency circumstances, using 2 feet might cause confusion. But if your brain tells both feet to move at the same time, you can unintentionally press both pedals, which would increase the chance of an accident rather than prevent one. Maintaining 1 foot on the pedals guarantees more accurate and controlled inputs, enhancing road safety. From a mechanical point of view, excessive braking might result from placing your foot on the brake pedal while driving. This practice not only reduces the life of your brake pads, but also puts the braking calipers and rotors at danger of damage, necessitating expensive repairs. Always put your right foot on the brake and gas pedals to guarantee safe and effective driving in an automated vehicle. In addition to preventing mechanical problems, this standard procedure guarantees improved control and faster emergency reaction times. Bonus tip: if you fill up your tank too full, too much fuel may spill into the evaporative emission system, which is meant to control fuel vapors rather than liquid gasoline. Damage to the charcoal canister and other EVAP system parts may result from this, causing problems that may not appear connected, but may have an indirect impact on the operation of your transmission. Why? To ensure efficiency and appropriate fuel-air ratios, the EVAP system collaborates with your vehicle's engine management system. Unpredictable engine behavior brought on by a broken EVAP system might place undue strain on the gearbox as it attempts to adjust for variations in power output. This additional strain may eventually lead to premature wear. In addition to harming your vehicle, filling up your petrol tank too full can waste gasoline. There is nowhere for the extra fuel to go, so it evaporates or spills, which is terrible for the environment and your pocketbook. As soon as the nozzle clicks off, stop pumping gas. The possible harm and long-term expenses to your vehicle are not worth letting it go a bit farther. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, stay safe, and see you in the next one.